but it's just another week of routine wins for the Toffees, isn't it? Matt, this one, the most unlikely top of the table clash, I think, that's been thrown up in a long time. First off, how do you see it going, really?
Oh, I don't know, mate. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I was dead impressed with them in the way they played last week against Man United. I know you saw their game, but although probably the only thing in the game they didn't dominate was the possession, really. United had like 70% of the ball, but Palace were just miles better than them in so many other areas, weren't they? So I think it's going to be a hard game. I think it'll be our hardest game of the season by comfortably. I know, obviously, winning at a top 6 side was a big thing for us, but I think Palace will give us a harder game than Spurs did. So, yeah, I think it's. I'd put it this way: I'll be surprised if it was another 5-2. I think it's going to be dead tight. And neither team's going to want to give much away, but should be an interesting one nonetheless.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm looking forward to is the midfield battle. So long as James McCarthy doesn't go and crock someone early doors. I've just got these visions of him doing a Payet tackle on someone and us all going mad.
It comes full circle.
Exactly, yeah. West Ham fans laughing at us on Saturday night on Twitter. But yeah, I think for me that's a pretty key area of the game because McCarthy and McArthur are functioning really well together. I know. Again, I listened to the match preview you did with TCO. Yeah. He was sound on Twitter and he was really good on the preview show. But he sort of said them two, they sort of grown up together, haven't they, football wise, and their function as a really good, solid midfield unit. And then he said the sort of two halves of the team function separately. So you've got that big attacking line that you've got, and then you've got the defensive line. And when it works like it has done the last couple of weeks, it really works. I say it is going to be a tough game, and that midfield battle's key for me.
Yeah, they've got loads of players, haven't they? Certainly, up front and out wide, you'd say on the day. Well, they're all just very streaky, aren't they? Zaha's obviously the most consistent and the most threatening of them all, but Ayew can be horrendous, but he can be brilliant. Townsend's very much the same. Jeff Schlupp's probably the most consistent, but he probably doesn't reach the same heights as the others. He just sort of does a job on that left-hand side. And yeah, on any given day, those lads can hurt you. And I think if you're gonna look at our games this season, and certainly last week against West Brom, the one negative aspect I'd say is that there were times when Allen went looking for the ball, and if he didn't win it, there was a big gap all of a sudden in midfield. That's where the first goal comes from, doesn't it? Ultimately, they score last week. And you look at it with players like Zaha and Ayew and Townsend, and if they can get into those little spaces on the counter-attack, then they might have a bit of joy. But in the same breath, mate, it's one of them where I think you're right about the midfield because they will likely just go with a 4-4-2. It'll be McCarthy, McArthur. The two wide players will obviously tuck in, but in that central area, not only should we have 3 players and outnumber them in that sense with, Gomez, Alan, Decore, you'd imagine it'd be, you've got Rodriguez just finding those little pockets between them as well. So Everton should have a quality advantage in that area of the pitch and a numerical advantage in that area of the pitch as well. And that's not really something we've been able to say going away to these sort of teams in recent years, certainly in midfield. And that's encouraging. So, yeah, I think Everton will have control of the ball. I think we'll dominate possession. And it's just going to be a case of whether we can make enough use of it. And then whether we can limit the opportunities they will inevitably get when they try and spring forward. But I think you're right, that midfield area is going to be really key because they're just going to chase and hassle and harry and kick and tackle everything, aren't they, those two lads, and try and spring from that position.
Yeah, and you kind of hope that we have learned lessons from last week because, I'd say from the first 20, 25 minutes, West Brom were running us everywhere because they had those wide players who were dead mobile. And as you say, when Alan went looking for the ball, I think he's going to have to be a bit more disciplined and just stay in front of the back four and sort of patrol that line, basically without rushing into halfway line into their half to get the ball. And obviously, last week, the first goal comes from probably mix up between Mina and Coleman, really, because neither of them were doing sort of the right job. But I think it falls ultimately on Mina. Hopefully, you will have learned from last week that you can back off to a degree. But once a player gets on the edge of the box, you've got to do something. You've got to press him up or a tackle and something like that. He's an international player. You'd think he would pick up on that and take it into this game.
I think the encouraging thing as well, I suppose, is that against Spurs, they weren't fully gung-ho, were they, in the pressing and the way in which they tried to get after them, in the way in which they were against West Brom at home. And maybe that just goes to show that there's no, and Ancelotti's not stupid, is he? He's not going to say, go and chase these lads and leave spaces for them on the counter-attack. I imagine it won't be quite as swashbuckling and adventurous in the way in which we play. There will be a lot more control. I mean, I've just seen in the comments there on YouTube, and let us know if you've got any thoughts on this game. If there's anyone you want to see play in particular, how do you think it's going to go, all that sort of stuff. But Mike Blakey has said that he thinks Decore will be asked to sit a lot more than he did last week, and I think that's spot on. And when you think back to that first game of the season against Tottenham, he was the one who sort of shuffled across, wasn't he, when James came in field and was looking to get on the ball a little bit more and leave Coleman exposed. I think he was really good at doing that disciplined job. So, there's lads in there and there's players in there who are smart, and we've got a really canny manager on the sidelines as well. So I don't expect Everton to go completely gung-ho. I expect it to be controlled, to try and settle into the game, to pin Palace back and try and get that goal through constant pressure. I don't think we're going to go absolutely off our heads chasing after the ball for minute one.
Yeah, I think it's a strange one, isn't it? I think with they're a really good counter-attacking side, but that sort of goes out the window when you're at home because the pressure's all. I mean, as we've seen with Everton in the past, the pressure's on you to make something happen. But I think this might sort of suit both teams because we are going to be very comfortable in possession, and they're going to be comfortable with us having possession to a point. So it's kind of, it could be like sort of we're trying to pick off each other and sort of waiting for a mistake. But hopefully, we'll have enough about us to sort of control the game to our advantage.
Yeah, we were speaking about this on the weekly a little bit last night, and somebody saying if we have as much as the ball as United did in their game, you'd back us to do more with it, if that makes sense. At the moment, they've got wonderful forward players, United, and obviously someone in Fernandes who's a wonderful footballer as well. But at the moment, we've probably got a bit more fluency and cohesion in the way in which we go about it. So you'd like to think that the confidence in the team at the moment, the way in which the lads up front are scoring goals and creating goals, that if we have that much of the ball, then we should be able to score one or two, and then it's all about whether you can keep clean sheets at the other end. And there will be concerns there, mate. It's Sahara and Ayew, if they get 2-on-2 even with Mina and Keane, then that's not really a battle I want to see from an Everton point of view, really, because the speed and trickery those lads have got. But I think it's going to have to be about us eventually. But I like I said, I want Everton to be assertive and be in control, but I don't want them to go full-blooded pressing from starting the game. A carbon copy to Tottenham's fine. I think just for the first 20-25 minutes, if you're just knocking it around and you're taking the sting out the game a little bit, that's absolutely fine for me. Just settle into the game, and then you can show your quality later on and try and win the game a little bit later on, maybe with players you've got on the bench. Because at the moment, that's one thing that's good about this group, isn't it, mate? There's so many lads in there now who even players who won't be starting at the weekend, they'll be sitting on that bench thinking, I can come on and make a real impact there.
Yeah, well, I think that I was just going to say that's been like, we've basically, I think I said last week, we've basically now got a midweek team and a weekend team sort of thing. It was a bit more, yeah, basically it was a bit more mixed up against Fleetwood. But the good thing is, it seems like these players like Sigurdsson and like Bernard, especially, they're taking on board the fact that they're not first choice now. Their place isn't a given, and they've got to work really hard to get in the team. And I think you can see that in the two cup games we played, and against West Brom as well. With the sort of first team, we're still pressing teams even when we're 2 goals up. We're still looking for that extra goal. We were doing it against West Brom, where in the past we've sort of made the right balls up of trying to break down 10 men. We had no problems doing that. And when we do break down 10 men, we kind of hang on a 1-goal lead and think, well, that'll be enough. And then it comes and bites us on the arse at the end. But against West Brom, right up until I'd say about 80 minutes, when we thought, right, that's enough, we're done here, they were really pushing for goals. And I think the same was true with Fleetwood as well. That's good to see all the players look enthused about being at Everton, which not something we've been able to say for a long time, is it?
And I suppose in a season which is going to be dead congested, isn't it? It feels, well, we've had a game every 3 or 4 days, haven't we? And it's going to carry on like that for the rest of the season. I imagine if you're the 13th or 14th or 15th lad in the list, whereas in the past you would maybe shrug and say, I'm never getting into this team. It's playing really well. It's quite settled. We are going to get injuries. We are going to get suspensions, and we are going to have to rotate the squad at some point throughout the course of the campaign. So maybe if you're in that position of not quite being in the first team, but on the bench, maybe you might not lose motivation as much because maybe your first team place doesn't feel as far away, if you get what I mean in that sense. So perhaps there's something to do with that as well. But just good to see everyone motivated, good to see everyone scoring goals. But in the same breath, I've seen some comments there already on YouTube in regards to picking players from midweek. Ian Clark said, like to see Gordon start. Seeing live vid, would you be tempted to replace Gomez with Bernard? David Snooker said Gordon in for Gomez, playing wide right and James inside. I mean, I personally wouldn't change that 11 that started the first two games, mate. I don't know about you.
No, I wouldn't. I think we have very much got a team who's our first team, and that's who we've got to put out in these games, especially while we find our feet, because it would be a shame to go into a game like this and change it and not get the result we want. Because then you can put it, if we put this team out tomorrow and we don't win, the manager can't really do any more than that because this team deserved a chance to start. But if we change it, it's like, well, why did you do that? It's a sort of what Martinez did a bit, wasn't it? He sort of tinkered for no good reason and it blow up in our face.
Yeah, and it's like that 11 to me feels suited to play away from home. Like that feels like a nice balance. There's a lot of control, a lot of varying attributes in that midfield. Maybe if we're at home against, we've got Brighton, haven't we, in a week after this, if we get a good result tomorrow and you're looking at Brighton all of a sudden and thinking, right, they might not be as... In fact, it's probably a bad example because they are quite expansive. Say if we got a Burnley at home or a Newcastle or something like that, maybe then I'd look at it and say, well, can you take one of those three, orthodox central midfielders out, get another attacking midfielder in and move James inside and play like that? But I think in these away games where you need a bit of robustness, you need a lot of control, you need a lot of flexibility. I think that midfield three of Gomez, Alan and Decore feels pretty sound and pretty solid to me. And then you've got options on, I imagine Bernard coming on 70 minutes tomorrow when they're tired and we're trying to get a goal, or you've got someone like Anthony Gordon or even Alex Iwobi who had a good game in midweek, or you could just lash Nkunku on for the last 10 minutes, or something like that. I doubt he'll even be in the squad, but there are options there now, aren't there? And I think it's. I just feel like that 11's a good platform to start with in away games. If you go 2-0 up early on, you can settle in and control the game and take the sting out of it. If it's 0-0 on 60, 70, then you've got lads on the bench who can come in and make a difference. So I think that 11 for me is a good starting point for these away games, without doubt.
Yeah, it's a very well-balanced side that we've got. And as you say, there are options. So if someone isn't pulling the weight or they're not having a great game, there is an option to bring in, apart from in goal, it seems. Don't really want to turn this into a Pickford show, but we've got to talk about him because I've got a bit of sympathy for him for the first one, because it was a terrible back pass, but he should have had the presence of mind to just put his laces through it instead of trying to take it on. But that second goal, that's one of the worst attempted saves I think I've ever seen in my life. He's a problem still, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, mate. Yeah, and it's just the last thing he needed, really, because I suppose there's a little bit of criticism at the weekend, wasn't there, against West Brom regarding the first goal. I personally don't really think. I think it's just a well-hit shot that he takes early, and ultimately you've got to say fair dues. It was a good goal, but you're right. It's just, I think the thing that as well that sort of, I was thinking about this actually earlier today, that I think a lot of people have forgotten, is the very similar instance to the first goal we conceded against Fleetwood nearly happened in the first minute against West Brom, didn't it? The ball goes back to Yerry Mina. It's not a good back pass, and in that situation early in that game, you're thinking just lever it away. But he tries to play a little ball over the top of the West Brom player, closing them down. It goes straight to him, and they have a shot at goal, which he ultimately saves. And I just think, I think a goalkeeper who's maybe having a rough time, who's a little bit more aware, if you've had something like that happen to you, literally in the previous game, and you thought, oh God, I've nearly cost us here with that early on in the game, messing around with admittedly a bad back pass. In the next game, even though it's a split-second thing, that should surely be at the forefront of your mind, just to get rid of it. And, to take that extra touch there and try and be a little bit too clever, it reeks to me a little bit of a goalkeeper that's just not going to learn his lesson. And it's horrible to say, because there is talent there. He's got loads of ability, and obviously his distribution could be fantastic. But the really worrying thing for me, mate, with all this is that there's so many mistakes he's made over the last few months. They've just been different mistakes. It's not like we're sitting here and saying, well, he's terrible at coming in and getting crosses and dominating his box. he's not been very good at that recently, apart from the Tottenham game. But it's not just that now. It's his dallying on the ball when it comes to distribution. It's shot stopping, basic shot stopping. You know, it's a litany of things, and the list goes on and on and on now. And it's not like if you sort this area of his game out, he's going to be fine. And you know, it's not just his technical ability. There's people saying he's overconfident, people saying he's not confident enough. It's just he just feels all over the place at the moment, doesn't he? And it's a worry. Make no mistake, mate. Hodgson's an experienced manager. Whatever you think about him, they will 100% target him. Any ball that goes back to him at the weekend, or any free kick they get, you know he's getting put under pressure. And that's not an ideal situation for the team to be in, especially against a team of groks like Crystal Palace. Yeah,
as you say, they're the sort of things you should be learning on. Basically, a keeper should be looking at any opportunity to have a go at his defence. And he's been given two options there when he could have just leathered the ball and turned round to Keane and turned round to me and said, "What was that? What are you doing to me here?" I had the right go at him, and then the situation's gone. But he's made it about himself, which I don't know. I don't know if like there is such a thing as bad publicity, but he gets it. But he seems to thrive on any publicity, doesn't he? He likes to be at the centre of stuff, which isn't what you want in a goalie. And probably what we don't want from this show. So we won't talk about him much more.
I was going to say, what do you think of it, mate? Because like you said, you've always backed him and sort of thought he certainly could come good. It's just, I just feel like it's not going to happen for him now. It feels like there's too much water under the bridge, really.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, there's too many mistakes, like not the same mistake that you can work with. It's different facets of his game that it's just like, it looks like it's something up there that he's not learning and he's not taking heed. So, we had a good game against Spurs and everyone said, yeah, he was good in that game because he was settled down and he just did his job. And then you get, like you say, against West Brom, he gets a bad back pass, but he tries to make something of it instead of just clearing his lines. Same against Fleetwood. Yeah, he's just got too many problems for me, and I don't think we can iron them out.
Yeah, I think the last thing is, and this could potentially happen in the next few days, depending on, despite what the manager said today in his press conference, the last thing you could maybe level at him as holding him back is saying he's got no competition. And if you get someone like Romero in and you put him next to him as a genuine competitor for that starting spot, maybe you get something out of him then. But, it feels very much like the last throw of the dice. And, the manager's come out and backed them today. I'm not surprised about that. But same sense, if Paul Joyce is reporting that there's been talks with intermediaries over Romero, then you'd have to say that's probably been the case. So I think it's just a case of the manager backing his man, but he's not soft, is he, Carlo? And you could see by the look on his face when he made those two mistakes in midweek that he wasn't happy. So going to be interested to see how it develops. But I suppose the only way Pickford can stop this speculation, mate, is by playing well. And it's not just about playing well on Saturday. It's about playing well against West Ham in the Cup, playing well against Brighton the week after that, playing well against Liverpool a fortnight after that as well. And he's got to string together 5 to 10 games before we can start talking about him being a dependable goalkeeper again.
Well, this is kind of what we were saying about the whole team last season when we were lurching from game to game. We're getting the odd win here and there. And we were saying, weren't we, at the time, for Marco Silva to keep his job, he's going to have to win 5 in a row. And that's kind of, or, get good results in 5 games in a row, because you've got to show some consistency that you can turn it around. I agree. It's the same with Pickford. Hopefully we'll get it, but whether we do is another matter.
Just one more. We had a couple of comments, Les, on YouTube. Ian Clark has said, is Pickford our Grobbelaar?
Well, he could be, couldn't he?
And then Dave Macker said, Dave Macker said, Ian, to be fair, he's not taking backhanders like Bruce did.
I mean, that's a fair point, isn't it? Although, I don't know, you look at that goal against Fleetwood and you do have to wonder what the hell was going on there.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Maybe. I mean, we're not making allegations or anything.
Oh, God, no. Not like that. Goodness, no. But it was just really shite goalkeeping, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Stats, because I know you love these.
Yeah.
We've not been beaten by Palace in the last 10.
Ah.
So the last time he beat us was 2014-15 when he beat us 3-2 at home, which he did the season before in the postponed Rick Wee game as well.
The 3-2 was the second one. Like, we played like a mad team that day, I remember. It was like Etu started for the first time. I think Atsu played, and it was sort of like, we're just rotating plays for the Europa League here. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah,
done it again. Bugger.
Populist, yeah.
We've drawn the last three at Palace, 2-0 nils and a 2-2, I think. A win for the Toffees at the weekend will see us win our first 3 games in the league for the first time since 93-94, which I remember. Right, there we go. Here's my nostalgia trip for the week. We beat Sheffield United 4-2. I think Cotty got a hat-trick, and we went top on the Saturday. Then Big Red went and beat Swindon 5-0 on the Sunday. We got knocked off the top, and our season was pretty much over there because that was the Mike Walker Wimbledon season as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it didn't end well. Well, it did.
It just shows how bad they must have been for the rest of that season. If they won the first ring, it still got dragged into a relegation battle. Amazing.
That was a belter against Sheffield United. It was a cracking game as well. Sheffield United had that kit. Do you remember when Villa had one as well with the ties?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was then.
Great shirts,
kits. Yeah. What else have we got? I think that's all for me stats.
We haven't lost at Sellers Park for ages, have we? It's like mid-90s.
No, it's a hell of a run. So we'll take something.
But that's mad, isn't it? That, like, it's always one of those games where you think, oh, God, we haven't got a good record down there. It feels like there's just been we've won there twice in the last 20 years and there's been 18 draws. I
think it's been a procession of 0-0s, to be honest, or 1-1s with Scott Dan scoring weirdly. It just seems like it's that game on repeat every time down there.
Yeah, because we had them. So last season we had them first day, didn't we? And we drew 0-0.
Yeah,
we had them second to last game away of the previous season as well. We drew 0-0, and we wore the same kit and everything. It was just like, this has just literally just been the same game on repeat.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, we wore that away kit with the mad design, didn't we? The start of last season.
I got tyre tracks on it.
Yeah. Oh, geez, and that was when Dave was blasting out his Everton hits on repeat, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
In the car on the way down.
Going through London on the bridge across the Thames, yeah.
Referee is Kevin Friend, VAR's Anthony Taylor.
Anthony Taylor, who refereed the Super Cup last night, I saw.
Oh, did he?
Between Bayern and Seville, yeah.
All right, how did he get on?
It was all right. It was quite relatively easy game to referee, yeah. Bayern are good, though.
Yeah, very good. You got to wonder why Thiago left. Weirdo.
Better without him, mate, yeah.
Well, exactly, yeah. See, shite. He's no good for ticketing. Right, score predictions. Mike the Asif 3-1 the Toffees. Adam Sutton 2-2. Dave Downey 4-0 to Magnifico's Maulers. Laura said 3-1 Hammers FC. Kate Riley James is +1. Mike the Asif 3-1 to the Toffees. What are you going with?
Can I ask you this quickly? Would you take a draw tomorrow?
Oh, no.
Let me phrase it differently. Would you take 4 points from our next two?
Who's after Palace?
Brighton at home.
Oh, of course. I'd gamble on 6. You know.
Yeah.
Positivity. I think. I feel like I think we got our fingers a little bit burned by not having faith in the Blues against Tottenham. And saying we'd be happy with a draw. We got a bit of stick for it, didn't we? Which I think was perfectly reasonable. Saying we'd be happy with a draw. But I think in this one, although Palace are doing well, it's a great opportunity, isn't it? I think later in the season we'd be looking at going down there because we'll both obviously drop off at some point. But I think later in the season, if you're going down there and you're pushing top 6 or whatever, you think we can get a result there. So I think don't want to draw, want to win.
Good stuff. I reckon we'll win it late on. It can be 0-0 for a long time. They're going to be hard to break down. I think it's going to be a touchy, tight game. Maybe someone like Bernard or Iwobi off the bench, just nicking it for us late on, something like that. Or maybe a centre half from a set piece. I think it's going to be a really tight, horrible game. It always is against them, isn't it? So But whereas when we've gone down there and played all right and drew 0-0 the last couple of years, we haven't quite had that extra bit of quality, have we, to get over the line and get the 3 points. But I feel like we've got that now. And their side hasn't really changed that much, has it? Apart from they've sold Wan-Bissaka last summer. Eze will be on the bench the weekend, you'd imagine. So it's going to be the same Palace team we played for the last few years, whereas we've got better. So I think we'll grind them down and get a win. 85, something like that. Yeah, late goal's a good shot. Last time we won, it was a late goal from Coleman, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, it was. Wonderful left-footed through ball from Tom Davis. Yeah. God, yeah, they were the days. Yeah. Have you got any? Everyone let you predict predictions in? Dave Snooks has said, Les, have you thrown your cat out before the stream started this time?
Yeah, he went out about 10 minutes before we started recording. I made sure of it. Yeah,
good stuff. He knows. He knows. Some predictions: Anthony Holden, 2-0 Pickford clean. Oh, Pickford clean, but Pickford clean sheet. Followed it up with Ian Clark reckons it's going to be another mad game. 4-2. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. James Dunlop 2-1 for the Blues. Matt 3-0 win for us. Dave Mack 4-1. We owe them for the past few seasons. I'm loving this positivity, mate. It's great. Hope it carries on. Do you know what? I was speaking to Dave in the week as well about his newfound positivity and sort of saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if we won the next 3? Which, it'd be hard, but it's not, out the realms of possibility. And we're going into that derby, the first derby of the season, 100% record against them. Everyone would be excited for a derby for once, I think. So fingers crossed we can get through that, but one game at a time first. But yeah, I reckon late winner for us tomorrow. I'll go Bernard off the bench to win it for us late on.
That would be nice after his performance in midweek. I'm going to go 3-2, I think. I think it's going to be a bit of a mad game. Like someone said in the comments then. I think it's going to be one of those 1-0, 1-0, 2-1, 2-2. We'll win it late on. I got Richarlison, I think, to win it for us late on. 3-2, yeah. Stuff. Yeah. Just before we go, I want to say thanks to Mike Greeny for sending us this bottle of Red Press whiskey, which was very nice of him. He's the founder of Greeny's Whiskey Club on Mailbag. And he said we've got to share it out next time we get to do a show together.
Oh, I bet you were gutted when those lockdown rules came in this, mate, and you couldn't share that nice whiskey with anyone. Must have been really disappointing for you, that, yeah. Yeah, well, it remains unopened. I'm not gonna open it until we can share it. until it gets about 7:00 tonight and we had battered after the mailbag. Get right when we scored the late winner tomorrow and you've got nothing to drink in the house, see if that holds up, yeah.
Yeah, know me too well, mate.
Okay,
no, that's all for this week. Sorry, yeah, never know how to end this.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll just say something like up the toffees or something like that.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, I'm doing mailbag now. You're doing post match tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be doing post match tomorrow. Should probably just give people a bit of a heads up on what's been going on this week. So post match tomorrow. So far it's me, Dave Downey, and Mike Greenall doing that. I'm trying to work on somebody else as well to get involved in that. Coming up tonight on Blue Room Extra, you've got Mailbag, like you said, or Alebag, the Echo Falls edition, I think it's going to be. That's got Matt Flusk, Laura, and Keith, is that right?
Yep, Keith won last week, so he's back on this week.
And also on Blue Room Extra is the first ever Blue Room 101, which Dave Downey is going to be doing every week, and Jack Carlisle is going to be on that. So Jack's going to be telling Dave his one thing he wants to get rid of from an Everton point of view, or about Everton, one thing he wants to get rid of in football in general, and one thing he wants to get rid of in life in general as well. So that should be really interesting. Probably the two most cynical people on the Blue Room on a podcast together, I'd say. That would be nice. So it should be a fascinating one, that.
Yeah, bodes well, that one, actually. Yeah. Jack should have some good input there.
Yeah, and if you want, we've had loads of people sign up to Patreon this week. Really enjoying it. Great to interact with everybody. I've been doing the Blue Room breakfast. So you're having a podcast every day in the morning when you wake up in the week. You're going to be joining me on Tuesday next week for one of them, Les?
Tuesday. Yeah, will do.
Yeah, so we'll be doing all that sort of stuff, yeah. So it's patreon.com/the Blue Room Extra if you want a little bit more from us. But yeah, we'll wrap it up here because I know you've got to go do mailbag. I don't want everyone angry at you with the Echo Falls ready to go. But,
yeah, I'm recording 10 minutes, so it'll give me time to crack the bottle open.
But thanks to everyone who's watched us on YouTube this week. We'll have the post-match on it tomorrow as well. Fingers crossed we're speaking about an Everton win. But yeah, we'll speak to you then.